Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Football Fan. This is Diary TV and I'm Ogenekaro Asowe. Today we are looking into a story that is as raw as it gets. A tale of passion, pride and tears shared on the grand stage of international football. Picture this, it's March 2025 and a towering Nigerian striker stepped onto the pitch in Kigali, Rwanda. His name, Tolu Arokodare. For the first time, he is wearing the green and white of the Super Eagles, Nigeria's national team. The whistle blows, the game ends, and what next? This 24-year-old giant of a man, a goal-scoring machine for KRC Genk in Belgium, breaks down in tears. But why? What emotions were swirling in his heart that turned this debut into a tearful moment in history? Let's unpack it. Tolu Arokodare isn't your typical stoic athlete. In a candid interview after the match, a 2-0 World Cup qualifier win against Rwanda, he opened up about what that moment meant to him. He said, and I quote, "Personally, I'm not an emotional person. I don't cry. Last time I cried, I think it was last year." So what changed? What flipped the switch for a guy who's built a reputation as a cool-headed finisher, banging in 19 goals in 37 games for Genk that season? The answers lie in a cocktail of emotions that hit him all at once. First, there is overwhelming joy. Imagine working your entire life for a single moment. Kicking a ball around the dusty streets of Festac Town in Lagos as a kid, dreaming of the day you would represent your country. For Tolu, that debut wasn't just a game, it was a accumulation of years of sweat, sacrifice, and hope. He had moved from Nigeria to Latvia, then Germany, then France, and finally Belgium, chasing that dream. And when he stepped onto the pitch, replacing none other than Victor Osimhen, Nigeria's golden boy, it hit him. I've made it. That joy, that pure, unfiltered happiness was enough to crack even his tough exterior. But it wasn't just joy, there was pride too. In wearing the Super Eagles jersey, a symbol that carried the weight of a nation's footballing legacy. Nigeria isn't just any team. It's a 3-time African Cup of Nations winner, a squad that has produced legends like JJ Okocha and Rashidi Yekini. For Tolu, pulling on that kit meant joining the pattern, even though it was just for a few minutes. He felt the eyes of millions of Nigerians on him, and that pride swelled up inside until it spilled over. And then came gratitude. Tolu didn't shy away from giving credit where it was due. He hugged Osimhen after coming up and whispered, "Thank you." Why? Because Osimhen, a player he had idolized, had played a big role in inspiring him. Grateful for his teammates, for the chance to train with stars like Winfred Ndidi and Victor Boniface, for the coach who believed in him. It all mixed into this emotional storm. Let's not forget the awe. Tolu admitted that he was shell-shocked and lost for words, playing alongside players he had watched on Instagram, guys he had admired from afar, left him starstruck. This sense of disbelief, is this really happening, pushed him over the edge. So as the final whistle blew, those emotions, joy, pride, gratitude and all collided. He couldn't hold it back. The tears came not because he was sad, but because he was overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. It's a moment that reminds us that football isn't just a game. It's a vessel for human emotion, raw and real. And for Tolu Arokodare, that debut was a floodgate opening wide. Now, let's take a step back. Tolu's tears wasn't just about the moment. They were rooted in something deeper, something personal. To understand why this debut hit him hard, we need to look at the family and the upbringing that molded him into the man he is today. This isn't just a football story, it's a family history, one that starts in the bustling streets of Lagos, Nigeria. Tolu grew up in Festac Town, a vibrant community known for its energy and grit. It's not the easiest place to chase a dream. Resources are scarce, competition is fierce, and every step forward take also. But Tolu had something special. A family that believed in him, especially his father. In interview after interview, Tolu made it clear his father was his rock. He said, "I was very happy for my dad because I knew it meant a lot to him." That line tells you everything. If his father didn't just support him, he dedicated his life to Tolu's football journey. Think about that for a second. Imagine a father in Lagos working tirelessly, maybe sacrificing his own dream to make sure his son could kick a ball with purpose. Tolu mentioned about how his dad was there from the beginning, back when he was starring in Catch FC and training at Marsham Wrestling Flying Sports Academy. Every goal, every move abroad, every late night training section, it was a team effort. And when Tolu finally stepped onto that pitch in Rwanda, it wasn't just his victory, it was his father's too. That's why he cried, not just for himself, but for the man who had given him everything. His mom and brothers were part of this. Tolu thanked them all, saying, "I will also thank my mom, my brother, and my family who had all backed me to reach here." This wasn't a solo mission for him. It was a collective push, a family united behind one goal. Growing up in Nigeria, where football is more than a sport, it's a lifeline, a way out, and a source of pride. That support system shaped how Tolu saw the moment. For him, the debut wasn't just personal glory. It was a way to honor those who had carried him there. And yes, the kicker, his dad was still alive to see it. Tolu said that's a major reason why this means a lot to him, especially as he's still alive to witness the fulfillment of their aspiration. In a world where so many lose their loved ones before they can share their triumph, Tolu got a look into the stand, or at least knows his dad was watching and said, "We did it." That's heavy. That's the kind of weight that turns a debut into a tears-soaked celebration. His upbringing in Festa Town also taught him resilience, moving from local academics to Europe. First Vermeeria in Latvia, and then FC Cologne Ames, and then Genk took grit. It was a journey full of rejection, adaptation, and proving himself over and over. That resilience, forged by his family's faith and Nigerian tough streets, made the debut sweeter. It wasn't handed to him, it was earned. And when you earn something that hard with your family dreams riding on it, the emotion is different. Tolu Arokodare's tears weren't just personal, they were a window into something bigger. What does his emotional response tell us about the significance of representing your country in international football? Spoiler alert, it's everything. Let's break it down. For Tolu, pulling on the Super Eagles jersey wasn't just about playing a game. It was about carrying a nation. Nigeria's football history is rich. 3 AFCON titles, 6 World Cup appearances, a legacy of flair and power. When you wear that green and white, you are not just a player, you are a symbol. Tolu felt that weight. He said, "It's what every footballer wants, to represent the country." That's not hyperbole, that's the truth. For a Nigerian kid, the Super Eagles aren't just a team, they are a dream, a source of unity, a point of pride in a country that has faced its own share of challenges. His tears shows how deep that runs. It wasn't just a casual moment, it was a sacred one. International football isn't just like club football. There are no transfer fee, no contract negotiation. You play for love, for honor, and for the people back home. Tolu's reaction as he hugged Osimhen breaking down in the locker room screams that it's the type of emotion you can't face. This is what happens when you realize you are not just representing yourself, but millions of fans from Lagos to London who see themselves in you. And it's not just about Nigeria. Across the world, debuting for your national team is a pinnacle. It's the moment you go from being a club star to a national hero, or at least a contender for that title. For Tolu, it's a validation of his journey, a nod to every Nigerian kid who has ever kicked a ball and dreamed big. He still said, "This matters. They say this is bigger than me." In a sport where egos can dominate, that humility, that reverence for the jersey stands out. It's also a light pressure. The Super Eagles were in a must-win sport World Cup qualifiers. A shaky campaign so far, a new coach in Eric Chow. Tolu stepped into that quadrant, and even though he didn't score, he felt the stake. His emotion reflect the intensity of international football, where every touch, every run carries the hope of a nation. And that is why he was overwhelmed. That is why he cried. Representing your country isn't just an honor, it's a responsibility. And Tolu felt every ounce of it. So, how does Tolu's emotional debut stack up against other footballers who have stepped into the national stage for the first time? Is he an outlier, or is this par for the course? Let's take a global tour and find out. First, let's look at Victor Osimhen, Tolu's teammate and the man he replaced in that Rwanda's game. When Osimhen debuted for Nigeria in 2017, he was a teenage sensation, fresh off a U17 World Cup Golden Boot. Reports from back then said he was buzzing, grinning ear to ear, full of energy, but yes, not quite. Osimhen's debut was more about confidence, a watch me shine moment. Tolu, though, brought a different vibe, less bravado, more vulnerability. Where Osimhen stormed in, Tolu soaked it in, overwhelmed by the journey rather than the spotlight. Now let's hop across continent. Think about Lionel Messi Argentina debut in 2005. He was 18, subbed on against Algeria, and get this, he was just sent off after just 47 seconds for an elbow. No tears there, just frustration. Messi's debut was chaotic, a far cry from Tolu's emotional release. But both shows how debuts can hit you hard in a different way. Messi's was a baptism by fire, Tolu was a baptism by tears. Or take England's Bukayo Saka for example. When he debuted in 2020 against Wales, he called it the best day of his life. No crying on record, but his joy was palpable. Tweets, smiles, family's pride. Like Tolu, Saka felt the weight of representing his nation, especially as a son of Nigerian immigrants. Their reaction differed. Saka was outward celebration, but Tolu was inward reflection. But the root is the same. National pride hitting you square in the chest. And then there is Brazil Neymar. His 2010 debut against the USA was pure flair. Scored a goal whose confidence, no tears in sight. Neymar's debut was a statement. Tolu's was a revelation. One strutted, the other sobbed. Yet both felt the magnitude. They just expressed it differently. What ties this story together? The debut is a universal milestone, and how it lands depends on the player. Tolu's tears set him apart not because others didn't feel deeply, but because he had let it show. Some bottle it up, some shout it out. Tolu, he cried it out, and that rawness, that honesty makes a story resonate. It's not better or worse than the others though, it's just uniquely his. After we've cried with Tolu, we've walked his journey, we've compared his debut. Now let's zoom out. What does his story say to the next generation? The young dreamers kicking football in the backyards, in the streets, and in academics. What's the message here for aspiring footballers? It is loud, clear, and inspiring. First, it's about dreaming big and believing it is possible. Tolu didn't come from a football dynasty or a silver spoon. He came from Festac Town, a place where talent has to fight to be seen. He moved continent, faced setback like a lackluster spell at Amiens, and kept going. His tears tell kids, your dreams aren't crazy, it's real. I was you once and look where I am. That's powerful. That's a green light to chase the impossible. Secondly, it's about family and support. Tolu's story isn't just his, it's his dad's, his mom's, and his brothers. He showed young players that you can't do it all alone. Find your people, your parents, your coach, your friends, and lean on them. Your emotional reaction, scream gratitude, and that's a lesson. Value those who lift you up, because when you make it, it's their win as well. Third, it's about resilience. Tolu's path wasn't straight. Latvia to Belgium isn't a typical route. He didn't get the call-up until he had proven himself, scoring 19 goals in a season. To young footballers that says, keep grinding. The setbacks, they are just steps. The tears, they are proof that you care. His story is a statement of sticking with it, even when the odds stack up. Finally, it's about emotion. Tolu didn't hide his tears, he owned them. That's a message to kids. It's okay to feel. Football is not just about toughness, it's about heart. Whether you're crying, you're laughing, or you're shouting, let it out. That authenticity, it is what makes you human, what makes you connect. Tolu's debut was imperfect, he didn't score, but it was real, and that is what young players should aim for. Real moments, not just highlight reels. So to every kid out there dreaming of their own debut, Tolu Arokodare's story says this: dream big, lean on your people, push through the hard times, and feel every second of it. Because when you get there, and you will, it's not just a game, it's everything. And that's it for today, folks. Tolu Arokodare's tears wasn't just a moment. They were a story, a lesson, a legacy. What do you think? Did his debut hit you as hard as it hit me? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe for more football stories that go beyond the pitch. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep kicking, and keep feeling. See you soon. Lights out.